Hi, fellow traders. What can I say about today? Well, it was a bad day in the neighborhood for me. All right, it all started with ENDP this morning. This was one of the stocks on my watch list. I put BABA and NVDA on my watch, but they weren't on my scans. Through crowdsourcing is pretty much how those came to my attention, and they were gapping, and so I figured they would move. But this was the only stock from my scan that I was interested in, so I said I would put BABA and NVDA on there, and then I would look after 10:30 or so to see about getting in those stocks. And I went ahead and watched ENDP. I tracked it. We started to sell off here, 5-minute candle before the open. So I figured it would sell off and at the open, which it did. It sold off a little bit. And here was the opening range low. So I was waiting to see if we can get a move below this. Now, I like to wait for a candle to close below this level and then get in on the next candle. And that's kind of the way I like to trade this. So this next candle, it shot up. And this is exactly why. This candle hit this level. It dipped, just a little dip below it, 1 or 2 cents. And, shot right back up. Now, it did close. It did come back down, and it closed right below the 20. Now, even though this is a green candle, if you've been in my class, this is one of the weakest bullish candles that you can get. This is a bullish candle. It's green. The buyers were still, I can't even say the buyers were in control, because this was a solid green candle at one time. And the buyers just ran out of steam, and then the sellers took over. So at the close of this candle, the sellers were in charge. So I felt good about it. Here we opened, tipped up a little bit, but then started selling. And so I got in. And typically I get in below the 5-minute opening range. But this didn't work immediately. And then I started doubting myself. And that's the worst thing you can do as a trader. For some reason, my confidence wasn't there. After having a good day yesterday, everything was fine. And all of a sudden, I didn't have any confidence. And, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what happened from one day to the next. I don't know if there was other things on my mind that I was worried about, that I was thinking about. I don't know what the case was, but my confidence was shot. And I didn't allow this stock to really work. My hard stop was up here. It was beyond this. It was, I think, 12:30 or something like that, or 12:40. And for some reason, I canceled my stop and took this trade off. I have nothing. I just draw a blank as to why I did this. And you see what happened. The darn thing worked. But don't understand, what happened here. But this is the reason. This is a good example of why a lot of new traders really lose money. And it's because they don't use the proper stop. And in this case, I didn't use the proper stop. I had it, but I didn't stick to it. I took it off and then just stopped out because I didn't want to lose any money. And you can't trade that way. You can't. Once you have a plan and you set it in motion, you have to stick to that plan. especially when the technicals are still in your favor. And the technicals were still in my favor. And if you've been in the room, you've heard me say that many times, many times. I'm staying in it as long as the technicals are here. There's a good chance it's going to work. And sure enough, it worked right after I stopped out. So that really put a bad taste in my mouth this morning. Started out, it was only a $44 loss. You know, my max loss on this was like $75 or so, $80, somewhere in that range. And that I was perfectly fine with that. Plus, I went in with 500 shares, and that was a little bit heavier than what I normally do. But I went in with 500 shares, which doesn't bother me at all. I've traded 1,000 shares, and it just, for some reason today, things just weren't clicking, and ended up taking a hit on that. And then came JUNO. Oh boy. So here's JUNO. It was on, this hit my reversal scan. Okay, why I didn't stop and look at BABA and NVDA? It was 10:30. It was time to check them out. But I saw this, and it hit my bottom reversal scan. So what I did was, didn't really give me enough room to make any profit. This had come down so hard, I thought, well, we're probably going to get a little bounce here and roll over, and we'll get a good trade on this. Well, I waited, saw some weakness here, got in. We had weakness for 2 candles, and then this thing got bought right back up. So this irritated me. Okay, I did stick to my stop here in this case, because this could have come up and tested the VWAP and then pulled back. But I made a mistake here. When this candle bounced, you see what it did? It made a higher low. It made a higher low. And I should have gotten out right at that point. But I let it stop me out. And I was in 400 shares here, I believe. No, I was in 500 shares on this too. For some reason, I was on the 500 share kick. So after this trade put me down, I think $110. So I was $110 in the hole with this trade, plus the $44.91 here. I was closely reaching my max loss per day. So I knew at this point, I just didn't have it. Even though this was a good setup, this was a solid setup, this was a trade that I should have taken my stop. I should have gotten out early. If anything, this should have been a trade I got out of early. But I was just the opposite, trading just the inverse of the way I should be trading. And when that happens, the best thing for you to do, shut your platform down so that you don't take any more trades, and then walk away. That's a smart thing to do. And that's what I did. That's the smartest thing I did all morning, was to shut down and walk away, because I just wasn't myself. I was not trading the way I know I can trade, the way I teach to trade, and it happens. People have bad days. I don't care who you are. Doctors, lawyers, everybody has bad days. And, some people are smart enough on their bad days to, not do the things that can get them in trouble. Doctors, I hope, are smart enough not to work if they're having a bad day, which, ironically, it is making me think about my wife's doctor because, she had surgery, but part of the stuff that they were removing, the doctor, when he dislodged it, he didn't take it out the first time. So he went and he finished what he was doing, and they forgot to take, the piece that he left, he forgot to go get it. So the good thing is, after surgery, they have to account for everything that they're taking out. And he couldn't account for it. He remembered he left it. So my wife had to go through the same pre-op, go back under anesthesia, go through a second operation. So maybe he shouldn't have been working that day. A lawyer who's in a very important trial, if they're not feeling it that day, then they don't need to be there, because they can mess up their client's case. So we, have to protect ourselves. If we're not there, if we're not feeling it, we need to shut it down and get the ship righted. So that's what I did. I waited, then I came back after lunch and finally traded like I had some sense. I waited for the loss here. We just kind of traded sideways here, hanging out on the 9 and the 20 right here. I got it closed below the 20. This opened, it dipped up toward the 20 and started to sell. When I saw weakness, I got in. Well, we did trade sideways for a little bit. Then we got the quick flush, the VWAP. And even though it's 2 arrows here, this is one cover. This is all one cover. Even though there are 2 arrows here, this is all one cover. It's like it split the order. I had a limit order sitting out there, and it just split it for some reason. It didn't charge me any extra tickets, but that's just the way the order process. So that was a pretty good trade. I think this one might have been close to $200. I'm not sure. I guess I'll see tomorrow once it settles and I download it. But yeah, that was a pretty nice trade. And I felt good. I felt confident, but I didn't do anything else. And that was another mistake, because I saw trades set up. I saw this set up. This was a trend continuation trade. This is textbook for me. I saw it. Once it went red on the day, I saw this. And I tracked it all the way down. I saw that one. But didn't take it. I let this stuff get back in my head. Here's another one. I saw it. Went red on the day. I could have taken it there. I could have taken it here and got a couple points on it. But it's crazy when your confidence gets shaken early. And it takes a little bit to get it back. Even though I had that solid trade that I nailed, I didn't get it back. It wasn't back 100%, and I didn't take these. I started thinking, it's Friday, it's the summer, blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. And I talked myself out of taking the trade. So this could have been a really, really exciting day for me. Really good, solid day. But it didn't turn out that way. But the key is, you can't get down about it. This day has to be erased. Once I do my reflection, I finish up my reflection here in a minute, This trade is erased from my memory, and I start fresh on Monday. So that's something that we really, honestly and truly have to do. Now, these were lower price stops, so obviously, that's what got me sizing up. It wasn't that I was just trying to make extra money. Lower price stocks, you can size up, and you can feel a little bit more comfortable trading them. And if you don't feel good, then you need to size back down. And the reason why I'm telling you this, it doesn't take a lot of size to make money. And you have to learn how to trade. You have to develop your skill. And I don't care what anybody says. You're not going to take $1,000 and turn it into $100,000 in 60 days. And you're a new trader. It's not going to happen. Now, if we get another market, or we get another sector that runs like the marijuana sector did a couple years ago, it's very likely that can happen. But with the market the way it is and no sector running, nobody is just going to sit here and trade their way from $1,000 to $100,000 in 60 days. It's not going to happen. You can play around with it on the simulator and make it do whatever you want to do. But if you try to do it live, it's going to slap you in the face. You have to learn the skill of trading. You have to. And it's not all about cutting losers off early and letting winners run. It's not about that. It's developing a trade plan and sticking to it. And it's not doing what I did on ENDP. I had a trade plan, had it in place, and didn't execute. And the trade worked. I had the right idea. I knew what I was looking at. And this happens to us a lot. The trade is not going to immediately work for us as soon as we get in. 90% of the time, it's not going to immediately work for us. It's going to trade sideways. It may bounce a little bit. That's why you have to not have your stop so tight and give it enough room so that it can work. How did we figure how much room we need to give it? Look at the previous candles. Okay, what's the range of these candles prior to here? And figure out the average. And there's your stop. It's just as simple as that. I don't use the highs of candles and all of this because the fund managers and people who are looking to nail us know where retail traders put their stops. They know where the average day traders and all of them put their stops. So for me, I came up with the way to put my stop at the range of the average range of the candle. So if the average range is 50 cents, that's where my stop's going to be. And my position size needs to reflect that. It's just that simple. If my stop's 50 cents, then the max I can go in is 200 shares. Whether I had a buying power to go in 5 or not, max is 200 shares. So you have to be able to make a good trade plan, a feasible trade plan with the proper stop and proper profit targets. Because without the proper profit targets, you're not going to know when you need to take profit. When should I take some off? You don't get in a trade and then say, okay, now where are we going to go with this? By then, it may be too late. So if you didn't hear anything today, just make sure it's not about cutting your winners off. I mean, cutting your losers off early and letting your winners run. It's not about that. It's about developing a feasible trade plan and sticking to it. And that trade plan is going to allow your winners to run to your final target. And that's the best you can ask for. All right, so that about wraps it up for me. But one thing I want to show you, trading small is, it's not bad. Trading small is not bad. You can make money on trading small. And just to give you an example, all of my trades I keep here on Profitly. I download them. I download all of my trades. You log in and it brings them up. You type in your whatever you want to type in and you bring it up. I mean, I do it now, but I don't have any trades there. I downloaded them all this morning. So these trades from the day won't process until the night or clear until the night. And then I could download them after midnight. But all of my trades come here. And it keeps, and then I can have, it keeps all my stats. So I started this new account in July of last year. I started with $1,500 and I started over with $1,500 3 times. I started in July. I started again in October. I think I got up to almost 4,000. I started again in October with 1,500. And then January 1st, I started with 1,500. And that's the last time I started over. And you guys in chat see the small size that I trade day in and day out. So let's look at, I made 31. Let's look at that. The actual amount here before we go anywhere, because that rounds it up. The actual amount that I've made since July 1st, $30,650.51. This is after commissions. When I download this, it downloads it after commissions. So this was solid. And let's see. I don't know if it'll let me do here, or it might make me, I might have to go to the other one. Cause I still get this for free. The first, chat room I was ever in was Tim Sykes. I signed up for his penny stock and silver subscription, and the basic Profitly subscription it came with it, and I've just kept it all this time. Yeah, it's trying to get me to upgrade, so I need to do it this way. I can do it this way. Alright, from January 1st. And back in January, I was trading some very small sizes. Okay, so since January, we made $21,000. And I've been through some problems. I've had my issues trying to run the chat room and trade at the same time. And through all of that, I got $21,000 since January. Now, how many of you guys starting out trading would love to have that? And guys, this is trading with an account less than $5,000. I started with 1,500 and taking small position sizes. It can be done, and that's why I'm doing it. And I'm trying to teach you that this is a proper way to grow your account. This is a proper way to learn how to trade so that you don't luck into some big trades and then turn around and lose all your money and then some because you don't really understand what you're doing. 68% profitability rate, that's respectable. The thing that I don't like so much is the gap between, I like this to be 2-to-1, but trading with a smaller account, it makes this gap hard. The average losing trade, $84. The average winning trade, $112. I'd like this to be at least 2-to-1. But as your account size grows, then that number these two should start to separate more. But, you can see trading with a small account, and I'd say 80% of the trades that make this up, you guys saw right there in chat. And I say 80% because I didn't start my community until January 21st. So the first 20 days of January, I wasn't trading in the room, so you didn't get to see those trades. But so 80% of these trades you guys saw in chat. You saw this. If you want to know the position size that I traded to get this, you can go through every trade and it will tell you. Go back to the trades. It'll tell you position size. You click on it, it'll tell you what my position size was. This was a like $6 stock. So obviously I went in with some size. Here's my sign of loss. 100 shares. Let's see. Here's $116 on buy. It doesn't seem like much, guys, but it adds up. All of this adds up. You can't deny that it adds up because you see it right here. So if you really want to learn how to trade and you want to learn how to do it the right way, and you're willing to have some patience and trust the process, I'd love to work with you. You come join our community, and any trader in there will tell you I'll do everything I can to make time to help you out if you need it. That's one thing that I brought over from my teaching career. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I ran it enough, but I guess I kind of got on my horse a little bit and started riding. But I will do the weekly update and let you know where we are, after the first 6 months, and we will go from there. So you guys have a great evening, a great weekend, and stay safe.